when my father was right before he passed away, he did everything right. He had a good paying job with social security benefits, a pension plan, all of the things that we typically do for life. But he didn't, at the end of his life, he didn't have enough money to pay for his end of life care, but he made too much for assistance. And it put us in a really awkward predicament.
Now, welcome back to Your Money, Your Rules, where real people share real strategies to build real legacies. Now, I'm your host, Teresa Villaruz, founder of the Thrive Movement. And around here, we believe money should move with mission, not just to fund lifestyles, but to fuel purpose and create generational change. Now, if you've ever felt called to do something bigger, but the money piece kind of held you back, today's episode will speak directly to your spirit. Now, I'm joined by someone I truly admire, because not just for what she's built, but how she's actually building it. My guest is Amber McCollum, who is a fund manager, a capital raiser, and a serial entrepreneur. Yeah, multiple businesses. But her resume doesn't stop there. Now, she's a woman of faith who's deeply committed to helping 1 million purpose-driven people believe that they can generate wealth through commercial real estate, capital raising workshops, and a soon-to-be released book. Now, she's not just helping people access capital, she's helping them access courage. Amber, welcome to the show.
Teresa, thank you so much. What a warm welcome. I'm just humbled and grateful anytime anyone asks me on their podcast. So thank you so much.
No, absolutely. We are glad to have you here. Now, before we dive into your strategies, right? I always like to start with the why. Like, what is one moment in your journey when you realized, wait, I've been called to something bigger, and wealth is just going to have to be part of that calling?
I actually love this question. It's something I talk about all the time with so many people. And there's really two reasons. The first thing was several years ago when it's really about end of life care, which is something that I think you would resonate with a lot in what you do and with your business. When my father was right before he passed away, he did everything right. He had a good paying job with social security benefits, a pension plan, all of the things that we typically do for life. But he didn't, at the end of his life, he didn't have enough money to pay for his end of life care, but he made too much for assistance. And it put us in a really awkward predicament. We hated the way all of that played out, the way all of that, impacted our family. And I got to thinking, just based on my own personal journey, what does that mean for me? Like, what is end of life care for me? I have a great W-2, I have a great job, but I don't have a massive portfolio of wealth, and who will take care of me? And so end of life care is not something a lot of people think about. So it started there for me and my journey. And I thought, I have to build wealth. I have to do this for me, for my family, because it's something that I just witnessed firsthand, and I don't want to end up like this. But as it went along, my perspective, that's still part of my why, but my perspective shifted a little bit more outward and less inward, because I met so many wonderful people. So I learned so much, went to so many masterminds, and realized that we're all here together. We're all here trying to do this thing called life, and wealth can be a huge part of that. So as I started growing wealth, and as I started having these conversations, I realized a lot of people are just scared. People have this emotion attached to money. It could be fear. It could be that it's evil. It could just be scared to lose it all, scared of the risk. And then I thought, this mission has got to be bigger than just what I want to do for end of life care, but how to really get people thinking about how money can impact for good. Like, if you can have money, it's not an evil thing. It can be a tool. The love of money may be something that we should not make an idol, but the actual tool itself, that's all it is. It's a tool that can impact change and can impact lives way more than you can just by not having it. So
yeah. Now, what I love about that is that you mentioned it right there, right? It's a tool. It's not something that we should idolize or anything like that, and not have the love for money, but let it be a tool so that not only do you have, you don't end up kind of like what happened with your father, who did everything right and still ended up with, earning too much in order to get the help that he needs. So So it's kind of like putting more control or taking more control of your finances so that you are able to take care of yourself and your family no matter what stage in life you are at. That's amazing. Now, you mentioned, it's a necessity now to just really build wealth so that you don't have to worry about, things like, end of life care. And I also love that you've kind of put your faith in that. Like you mentioned earlier, people are just scared, right? But you're taking action and taking charge because of your faith, right? And with intention. Now, can you break down what that looks like in real life? Like really just having that faith and taking action, even when you're not really sure where to begin.
That's a funny question to me, because everything in life for me has to come back to faith. When I started this, I scaled pretty quickly just because I took a lot of action. And as a result of that, whether it's personal decisions that I made to lend out money, or just I broke a lot of things in learning. And I definitely think that experience is the best teacher, but it made me know that this is not, building wealth is also not up to me. It's not by my own ability. It's by the opportunities that are given by God. I have lost a lot of money. So I built a lot of money and lost a lot of money. And that was scary for me. And so I had to turn to faith. I still turn to faith. It's still scary. I'm still clawing my way out of that in various ways. And my beliefs haven't changed about growing wealth. My prayer life has changed a lot, because money comes and money goes, and you can't be flippant about that. I want it to come and stay. I want to keep it, grow it, protect it. And I realized that by the very first step to growing it is to learn how to keep it and protect it. And I did not do that. And so that was a very costly lesson for me. But it shifted into, well, this isn't about me anyway. This isn't about the works that I do, because if I leave this life today, that money's not going to matter. I'm not going to have it. It's only going to matter the faith that I have in God. And so every opportunity that I have turns back to, what can God do with this? How can I steward this wealth in a way that is glorifying to the kingdom?
That's amazing. That's great, because everything that we have is really a blessing from God, right? And He wants us to use the blessings that He bestowed on us to help others as well. So that's amazing. Now, you mentioned money comes and money goes, and the lesson that you learned is that you need to keep and protect it in order to grow it, right? And what you've been doing is like really raising capital for commercial real estate, which really sounds intimidating to most people. What would you say are a few misconceptions you hear often, and what's the truth behind, raising capital? Because it does, to some people, it does sound risky when they lend money to a capital raiser, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right. I think you have to, if you're, first of all, a capital raiser, you have to raise capital in the right way. That's why we started a fund, so that we can do that. And I am a capital raiser, but we're currently not even raising capital into the fund, because the people that we work with to acquire the commercial properties needs a break, just because the market has shifted. They want to be super safe, super just careful about scaling too quickly, which I think is really important. So while it impacts the money that I bring in, because that is part of my entrepreneurship, and it even impacts the long game in a way, like it just pushes it out a little bit longer. I actually respect that so much, because if you raise capital and just try to scale so quickly without a method or structure or thought behind it, then it can be super risky. So if you're investing your capital, then I would think about who the operators of that capital are, like whether it's the fund or whether it's a one-on-one transaction. I feel like the operators are so critical as much as the underwriting of the deal. And that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, because the money that I've lost have been through bad operators. Mm-hmm. and not even bad operators, but also poor decisions that they made, and the way that they showed up, the way that they managed the funds. And so that taught me a huge lesson about due diligence into the operators, as well as the investment itself, because a deal can pencil out, but if the operator doesn't make the right decisions and you're not aligned with the decisions that they make, then there's added risk that's really unnecessary. And so I would encourage anyone to do their due diligence on the operation and health of the business.
Gotcha. Now, obviously people want now hearing that, obviously it's not just vetting or verifying the deal that it's gonna, it's a good deal, but also vetting the operators or the people with the projects. So tell me, walk us through, like, what do you typically do to vet the operators that the operators that you're going to help either raise capital or give some of your money to?
I think experience is huge. One thing that I think is bigger than experience is successful exits in commercial real estate. So experience can mean a lot of things. People can have experience wholesaling, experience fix and flipping, experience in single family properties, co-living. But then if you move to another asset class, all of that experience leads you to this moment. But a successful exit, having a successful exit and all the things that can go wrong from acquisition to exit, people need either the right mentor or the right experience. So if they have a mentor that has had successful exits, that would give me a lot of confidence. If they have had successful exits, that would give me a lot of confidence. Due diligence in general, though, check the health of the business, check their experience, and I feel like that goes a long way.
Nice. Okay, so it's not just about how many successful exits that they've had or how many projects they've completed, but before you even fund or help or capital raise for an operator, make sure that the project that they're currently working on and need capital for is something that they have experience on, right? Just like you mentioned, because if they've done fix and flip, but it's all single family, and then now he or she's trying to get funding for commercial real estate where he or she has never had any experience in, that might be kind of like a red flag, right?
Exactly.
Especially if they don't have a mentor to work with.
Right. And it might not be a red flag. I tell people when people ask me for advice just on, I don't have experience, but I still need capital. I want to grow this business too. Everybody starts somewhere. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the thing to do at that point when you're new is to leverage other people's experience. So put somebody on your board of advisors that has the experience that can walk you through the steps, or get a mentor, pay for personal education, get that mentor to help you, and then have the mentor leverage their experience. And I think that lends itself to a lot of credibility, and that would make me personally feel better. So I'm speaking as a fund manager, but I'm also speaking for personal experience. And that's where most of these answers are coming from, not as a fund manager or not as a capital raiser, but as this is what personally happened to me when I loaned my money. And these are the lessons that I've learned.
Nice. Thank you for sharing your experience, because a lot of people are going to learn from that as well. Now, let's talk strategy, right? If someone wants to be a capital raiser, they want to raise capital, obviously it has to be ethically, legally, and effectively. What would you say are the first 3 things that they need to get right?
I think the biggest thing that you can do is get your mindset and your communication right. I think that people have heard it all the time. People need to know, like, and trust you in order to wire the funds. Now, some huge institutional players will wire funds if they don't know, like, and trust you, because it's just a business decision. But when you're starting out, and before you get to those $1 million checks, $2 million checks, along the way, people have their life savings, people have their 401k, their life insurance policies. They have these things that they have grown and built and protected, and they want to continue to protect that. So they're not going to wire you funds until they know, like, and trust you. That comes with communication. It comes with how you show up. What are you doing on social media? I think that's huge. Having that credibility, being upfront about that. I think that's the first thing you have to get right, is how you show up. And expect people to need time to do due diligence. You can't just send a pitch deck and say, hey, let's hop on a call, and then, okay, when can you wire? That's not how it works. I'm also not a salesman, so I wouldn't operate like that anyway.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Now, people you mentioned about people, right? Uh, Obviously there's those big players and those people who want to get into real estate and but they don't know where to even start, right? So what would you say they should do? I mean, you kind of talked about, putting your mindset right, communicating correctly, and then when they do their due diligence, because they do need time to kind of be comfortable in like sending money out to people. What would you say is the thing that, you know, they should really, if there's three things that they could focus on, what should they be focusing on before even lending money to a capital raiser or a fund?
The borrower, the deal, and I want to say, so the borrower, the deal, and experience. I guess those would be the top three things. I do believe that someone that's wanting to get in real estate as a passive investor, so you're not having to source the deals, find the deals, operate the deals, any of that, I think that loaning capital is a good passive way to be involved. Because there are risks, I think you need to think about loaning to own the property if something happens. If it's collateralized and backed by real estate, that's awesome. But then you might have to step up and show up if something goes wrong. And so I think that's the first thing, is you have to think about risk. I love when operators talk about risk because it shows that they've thought about risk. And so if you are going to loan your money, then risk has to be a part of the conversation. A lot of operators are scared to talk about it because they think if they talk about it, they won't get the checks, right? They won't get the wires, they won't get the funds. I disagree with that completely. I think talking about risk lets people know that you know what you're doing and you know how to manage money properly. And so what? If you talk about risk and then they don't want to loan money to you, then they weren't a good fit for your deal. And I think knowing that the lenders that do wire money have to be a good fit, I think that is next level thinking. You don't want anybody's money if they're not a good fit. It starts the deal off in a bad way right up front, and even if it's not a bad deal, because they have these emotions, just like I talked about at the beginning. They have these emotions about money, and probably if you've had to talk them into it and really sell them on it, then their emotions were already trepidation, fear, insecurity, and then you've got their money and now they're worried the whole time, which adds a level of energy that you don't want in the deal. Like if they're worried about your deal, now you're managing emotions and not managing the deal. And I think that that is not a good fit. So as an operator or a capital raiser, you need to know what's the good fit for the lender for the deals you're raising for. And if it's not, have the respect and mindset to let it go, and that the right money will come. Because if you force it, I think that's where you can get yourself into hot water on so many levels, because you want it to be a partnership. Anybody who lends in a deal with me, I want it to be a partnership. I don't want it to be something where we can't communicate, we can't work through strategies, we can't work things out if something goes wrong. If everything goes right, I want them to loan again. I want to expect that everything goes right. If they come with a sense of fear, their expectations are thinking the worst, and then they're thinking the worst. And who wants that energy or belief set around your deal? Nobody.
No, absolutely right. Thank you so much. Because then that's really gonna, like focusing on the relationship or the partnership will actually make everything a lot more smoother. There's the trust there, and then there's, there'll be less back and forth, I feel like. And you're absolutely right. It's better to spend your time where it matters, which is like really focusing on the project and seeing it through, versus having to be a therapist, for lack of a better analogy. So you're building,
right.
Yeah. So you're building something big here, right? Especially because you're working through this to not just because it's your business, but it's also because you have a purpose for this, and that is to be more of an impact in this world that God has created, and be kind of like that steward for the kingdom. So which means that there's a lot of people that resonate with that, because people don't just want to invest in deals, but also impact. Now, what do you think is the key to attracting aligned capital in today's noisy world?
Being authentic would be the best way to do it. It's hard to quantify that, because I talk to a lot of people that are not a good fit, but I attracted them in the first place. So, maybe they're not a good fit for one thing, but they might be a good fit for another thing. I don't have a scarcity mindset. So if they're not a good fit for me, I will pass them along and say, hey, I don't think this deal is good for you. Sometimes that makes them want to wire even more, like, okay, well, no, I'm ready. And I have to be firm on that. And I'll say, but here's 3 other people that I know, like, and trust myself because of the communities I'm in. Talk to them. They have deals. I think these would be a better fit. And I'm happy to do that. But also people do that with me as well. If they're working on single family and I'm working on multifamily, then if somebody wants to not worry about a fix and flip, or they don't like a single family property and realize that multifamily can have more potential as far as the cash flow is concerned, then they might not want a single family property. They'll refer them to me. And I think that reciprocity just builds community a lot better.
Oh man, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. This was so good. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, follow your journey, or maybe, grab a ticket to one of your workshops, where should they go?
Follow me on Instagram is the best way. I have a huge following on Facebook, but I'm inundated with messages there, and a lot of them are bots, so it's hard for me to see your message. I respond to every single message on Instagram. It's Amber McCollum, and that's the perfect way. Thank you for having me, Teresa. This has been so much fun, and you ask such thoughtful questions. I'm so happy that your mission is also for the kingdom. So thank you for being who you are. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Amber. We really appreciate you coming on this show. Now, all right, true to Your Money, Your Rules fashion, we usually give one homework to our listeners, and that is write down one thing you believe God is calling you to build, and write down what kind of wealth it's going to take to get you there. Because believing is the beginning, but clarity is the catalyst. And if you're listening right now and thinking, okay, I'm ready to start, but I need a safe strategy to grow my wealth in 2 places at once, then I'd love to invite you to check out the Thrive Banking Strategy. It's the private banking system we teach inside the Thrive movement, where your money grows safely, works twice as hard, and stays protected while you build your legacy. You can learn more at thrivebankingstrategy.com. Now, Amber, thank you so much for being here and for reminding us that when purpose meets preparation, capital follows. And to our listeners, until next time, take control, build legacy, and remember, your money, your rules.